Hello everyone, welcome to the Homebrew Academy. I'm Lincoln, and today we're going to look at one of the worst, I'd say this is the most disappointing subclasses that WotC has ever written for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. And we're going to revise it and turn it into I think it's actually a pretty good subclass. So buckle up. The subclass that we're looking at today is the Undying Warlock. This one is from the Swords Coast Adventure Guide, a book that was infamous for having a lot of different player options that were all terrible. But this particular subclass was so hated that it was revised just a couple years later in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. That one, the Undead Warlock, was okay. Let's look at the Undying and see what makes it terrible and how we can make it better. The Undying. Death holds no sway over your patron, who has unlocked the secrets of everlasting life. Although such a prize, like all power, comes at a price. Once mortal, the Undying has seen mortal lifetimes pass like seasons, like the flicker of the endless days and nights. It has the secrets of the ages to share, secrets of life and death. Beings of this sort include Vecna, Lord of the Hand and the Eye, the Dread Luz, the Lich King Vol, the Undying Court of Arenel, Vlaakith, Lich Queen of the Githyanki, and the Deathless Wizard, who's it? Fistendontalus. I don't know that one. But anyway, in the realms, Undying patrons include Lalak the Shadow King. I don't know that one too. Legendary Master of Warlock's Crypt, and Gilgiam, the God King of Unther. We see a big mess of all kinds of different things that they use to inspire this subclass. And as we go through, we will see that because they draw from such a wide range, okay, these characters are also vastly different from each other. All of these different liches, these different deathless beings, they have their different things about them. And if you try to pull them all together, you really narrow your scope of what you're trying to do. So to make features that align with all of these different different characters, you're going to be really limited, and you will see that the features in this subclass are very sparse, very weak, and very uninspired. Alright, so let's get into these features. The expanded spell list. The Undying lets you choose from an expanded list of spells when you learn a Warlock spell. The following spells are added to the Warlock spell list for you. Now this is something that's outdated. This just adds these spells that you're able to choose. Warlocks in 5.5, they have these spells automatically prepared. They're automatically added to the spells that they're able to cast. It's not like that in the earlier version, but let's look at what these spells are. False Life and Ray of Sickness, Blindness, Deafness, and Silence. Those are two great spells. Feign Deaf and Speak with Dead, Aura of Life and Death Ward, Contagion and Legend Lore. Okay, those are okay spells. Among the Dead, starting at first level. So of course these are all. So of course new Warlocks get their subclasses at level 3, not 1. That's something that was updated in 5.5. You learn the Spare the Dying cantrip. You also have advantage on saving throws against any disease. Diseases don't really exist anymore. If an undead targets you directly with an attack or harmful spell, that creature must make a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. An undead needn't make the save when it includes you in an area effect. Okay, so it's only when it attacks you directly. On a failed save, the creature must choose a new target or forfeit targeting someone instead of you. On a successful save, the creature is immune to this effect for 24 hours. An undead is also immune if you target it with an attack or harmful spell. So if you're not fighting, an undead has a harder time attacking you. They're still going to attack somebody else, but it might be more difficult for them to attack you once. And also you get a cantrip. That's what you get. Defy Death. Starting at 6th level, you can regain hit points equal to 1d8 plus your constitution modifier when you succeed on a death saving throw or when you stabilize a creature with Spare the Dying. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Okay, so you get what is basically one casting of Healing Word once per day. Actually, it's not even Healing Word because it would have to be touch. Most warlocks are not trying to be in melee. They're not trying to be hit. But if you do get hit so much that you're dying, okay, then on your turn, once you succeed on a death save, it's weaker than the new Cure Wounds. Yeah, you can do it once per long rest. Undying Nature, beginning at 10th level, you can hold your breath indefinitely, and you don't require food, water, or sleep. If you're playing in a campaign where you survival is a thing, okay, that would be pretty cool. Up until about maybe level 6 or 7, because that's when you for sure wouldn't have any problem finding resources. After several days of always being able to find food and then you get stronger, your DM's like, okay, we're not going to do these checks anymore, so this is potentially pointless. Not needing to breathe, that could be cool, because you could just walk underwater. You could walk through cloud kill. So you do not require food, water, or sleep, although you still require a long rest to reduce exhaustion and still benefit from finishing short and long rests. Okay, so you still need to take a long rest. In addition, you age at a slower rate. For every 10 years that passes, your body ages only 1 year and you are immune to being magically aged. Okay, super ribbon feature at level 10, that's all you get. Indestructible Life. When you reach 14th level, you partake of some of the true secrets of the Undying. Okay, so this is where your real power comes online. On your turn, you can use a bonus action to regain hit points equal to 1d8 plus your warlock level. Additionally, if you put a severed body part of yours back in place, when you use this feature, the part reattaches. That might be useful every few campaigns or so. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. 1d8 plus, at this point 14, okay, that's going to be at least Cure Wounds. So right now you have a cantrip, 2 castings of Cure Wounds at first level would be the equivalent, and some undead occasionally have a hard time hitting you if you're not fighting. That's the entire subclass. Okay, so let's look at what went wrong. They have stretched the subclass so thin, having to make the features fit all these different characters, that all that they could really do is, let's give the player a little bit more longevity. It's the Undying Warlock. The player wants to be undying. Let's give them some extra hit points and make them a little bit harder to be hit. Maybe they're thinking, oh, they're going to be playing a campaign with lots of undead. They want to be like the undead king. They want to not be hit by undead. Might have a tie with the BBEG, might be their patron. If you're doing an undead campaign and you fight a lich. That's pretty cool, right? These features are not cool. Not only are they not powerful, they're not inspired. When you cast Spare the Dying, which might happen every few sessions, when you cast it and then the person comes up and you do that once per long rest, I'm sorry, that just does not distinguish you as someone who's on the path to lichdom. If I want to play this subclass, I'm not going to feel undying. I'm not going to feel undying. I'm just going to feel like a warlock who's a little bit harder to kill. A good subclass will have a feature you get online right away at level 3, and then it builds on it. So now let's look at my revision of the subclass. Undying. Some beings have transcended the boundary between life and death through sheer force of will and arcane mastery, hoarding the secrets of immortality for centuries, sharing them with no one. These ancient territorial powers do not form bounds out of generosity. They form them out of necessity. Your patron has chosen you as an instrument. In exchange for your service, they grant you a fragment of their deathless power and the forbidden knowledge to begin your own journey towards immortality. So the fantasy of this subclass is actually, you want to be a lich. You want to be the Undying. You go to, so you seek out this power. You find the entity and you begin the path. So when I think of a lich, what do? They control hordes of undead. They steal the life force of other creatures. What we're going to do is make something where we're given mechanics at level 3, and then we build upon them as we go on. Level 3, the magic of your patron ensures you always have certain spells ready. When you reach a warlock level specified in the Undying spell table, you thereafter always have the listed spells prepared. Alright, so at level 3 you get Inflict Wounds, Ray of Sickness, Blindness, Deafness, and Gentle Repose. So that's the same, except I used Gentle Repose. I swapped something out for that. 5, you get Summon Undead and Speak with Dead. Now, Summon Undead is going to be very important. 7, you get Blight and Death Ward. And then at level 9, your 5th level spells are Anti-Life Shell and Cloud Kill. Level 3, Undying Transformation. Now, I kind of took this idea from the Undead Warlock. That was the one in Tasha's. They made it the Undead. And so I took this feature from it, kind of. As a bonus action, you can enter a state of Undying Transformation, which lasts for 1 minute, or until you end it. No action required. While transformed, once per turn, when you hit a creature with an attack, the attack deals an extra 1d8 necrotic damage, and you regain hit points equal to half the result of that roll, rounded down. You can use this feature twice and regain 1 expended use when you finish a short rest. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Hi, editor link in here. So as I'm editing this in real time, I thought of a way to make the subclass even better by tying it into the core class features. Now, warlocks get something called magical cunning, where once per long rest, they get some of the effects of a short rest. So I'm thinking instead of having 2 of these per day and getting 1 back on a short rest, you get 1 per day, and you get your use back whenever you complete a short or long rest or use your magical cunning feature. This is something that they're doing in the new 5.5, where they're tying your subclass features more directly into your regular class features. So I thought that would be a good place to use this. So you get to use this once more than every short rest, and you deal a little extra damage, and you heal yourself while you deal extra damage. Also at level 3, Phylactery of the Undying. You get your phylactery just like a real lich. Your patron gifts you the knowledge to craft a phylactery, a vessel that will one day serve as the anchor to your immortality. See how it's saying it's going to progress, it's going to make you stronger as you continue the journey. You choose a small or tiny object of personal significance to bind with your soul. If it is destroyed, you can spend 1 hour to recreate it in a new object of your choice. While your phylactery exists on the same plane as you, you gain the following benefits. Deathless sustenance. You no longer need to eat or drink. So right off the bat, we're getting that. And cold embrace. You can change the damage type of any attack or spell you cast to cold damage. So right away, we see some synergy with the other level 3 feature. You can add extra necrotic damage to an attack. Let's say that you cast a fireball and you deal all those d6s of fire and you deal 1d6 of necrotic damage. You can change all that damage to cold if you want. So you can deal fire and necrotic, or you can deal cold. All right, now here's where it really builds. Level 6. While your Undying transformation is active, when you kill a creature that is not an undead or construct, or when such a creature dies within 30 feet of you, you can use your reaction to cast Summon Undead without requiring a material component or concentration. The spell's level equals your proficiency bonus. Once you cast Summon Undead this way, you can't do so again until you activate a new Undying transformation. You can have only one undead summoned this way at a time. Summoning another causes the previous one to crumble to ash. Okay, oh, hold on. I can already see you typing in the comments. I know what you're saying. But Lincoln, they got rid of proficiency bonuses and... Yes, I know, but that doesn't mean that you can't use proficiency bonus. So what I was thinking of, okay, this is a 3rd level spell. So if you cast it at 3rd level, you're going to create an undead minion that is okay when you first make it, but then as you get more powerful, your undead minion, and you only have one, and it's not very strong. I try to do different kinds of configurations, changing the how it scales, and I didn't like anything, and I just wanted it to be simple. So if you say proficiency bonus, they don't do that anymore because it keeps scaling even if you multi-class. But in this case, that's not a problem, because even if you multi-class, you'll still be encountering more powerful creatures, so they should make more powerful undead. And this is something that I didn't want to fall off. If you want to commit to 6 levels of Warlock to get this feature and then move on, some features scale very well and some don't. I wanted this one to scale even if you multi-class. So it uses your Undying transformation, it ties in with that, and it adds the part of controlling undead, which is part of the fantasy of being a lich. So you see how the features tie together? Level 10, while your phylactery exists on the same plane as you, you gain the following benefits. Deathless resilience, you no longer need to sleep. You can finish a long rest in 4 hours. Okay, so that's cool because now it's not just necessarily a ribbon. You can take a long rest and then a short rest if you want. You could cast your spells and take a short rest before everybody else wakes up. That's pretty cool. You have resistance to necrotic and poison damage and immunity to the poison condition. Soul Tether. Once per day, you can use a magic action to perceive through your phylactery as though it were the sensor created by the scrying spell, with no components required. This effect lasts up to 1 minute. Additionally, once per day, you can use a magic action to teleport to an unoccupied space within 5 feet of your phylactery. Yeah, so now your phylactery is giving you more power. And level 14, Deathless Apotheosis. Say that 5 times fast. While you are in your Undying transformation, you have immunity to necrotic damage. That is something that they had in the Undead Warlock, and that was the one really cool feature that everybody liked, so I kept it. Lichic Revival. When you are reduced to 0 hit points, you can unleash a burst of deathly energy. Each creature of your choice within 60 feet of you that isn't behind total cover takes 3d10 cold damage, so not very much, and must make a charisma saving throw, which is going to be difficult to pass, against your spell save DC. On a failed save, the creature is incapacitated until the start of your next turn. Furthermore, if you die outright, you begin to coalesce around your phylactery, if it exists on the same plane where you died. If you are not revived by any means within 24 hours, you reappear in an unoccupied space of your choice within 120 feet of your phylactery, as if you had finished a long rest. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest, or if you're brought to 0 and then you don't die, then you can't use the feature where everybody takes cold damage and makes a saving throw until you finish a long rest. So anyway, then I have this little picture here of this little lichy guy. By not confining ourselves to a very narrow set of features, we're able to create a subclass that really checks all the boxes of what you want to do when you play as a lich. So what's really the most important is the flavor. When you write a feature, compare it to this introductory paragraph. If using that feature doesn't feel like the core flavor of the subclass, you got to get rid of it. At level 3, right when you start out, that's when you get your main feature that everything builds on after that. Alright, so if you learned anything or if you were inspired, please leave a comment. If you liked the video, which you stayed to the end, so I bet you did, give me a like. And if you liked my fixes for the Undying Warlock, the PDF for it is in the description. If you'd like some more help with your own homebrew, check out my Discord. The link for that is also in the description. We have a community there of people who just love the hobby and love to craft. We'd love to see your creations and to help you make it exactly what you want it to be. And if you'd like to play more D&D, a link to my Start Playing Games is in the description. I'm currently doing a discount on games in order to play test my own homebrew content. So I would love for you to join me. It's going to be a lot of fun. Until next time, have fun.